So let me start coding here. First we need connection, which is our Mongo client, and here I can type Mongo client equals, I can call the upper function get client, right? And then we need a database. So there is another object called Mongo database, which is an interface, and I can give name database, and I can tell Mongo client to give me the object of database. So this is the get database function, and here I need to pass the name, and I'm going to put name test. So one more twist here is this get database function will go to the database and look for that test database inside that location. If it couldn't find, then it will create one. So if you see here in our Mongo client, we have only two database, admin and local. We don't have test. So if once we fire this, it will create a database test here first time. Now we got the database. Now we need the collection. We can do Mongo collection, and here I can pass, it will be in the form of document, which is a BSON binary JSON document, and then I need to give name, which is employee collection, and here now I need to ask to database to give me collections. Here I need to give name something like employee. So same way this get collection function also, it will go to the database and it will look for this collection name employee. If it couldn't find it, then it will create one. So we got this thing, we got the connection, then we got the database, then we get the collection, right? Now we need to fire a query here. So we basically need to tell this collection employee collection and to insert. So if I go here and put dot, I can see here we have this lot of functions. We have aggregate, we have bulk write, count, so many functions. And in this case we need to use this insert one function, and it is asking for document object, right? So we need to create this document object now, and for that I can type document, which is a BSON binary JSON, and here I can type employee 1 equals new document, and now I need to give a value employee 1 dot, I can use append or put first time, and the other time you can use append. So first let me pass the first name, and I'm giving first name as Pat. Then I need to pass last name, which is man. So Batman is living at Bat Cave, and we give the address, and we need to pass the employee 1 object inside this insert one function. Control Shift F, it will rearrange the code, and I'm saving this. We create this object, document object, and we pass to this collection, and we are basically telling to this collection to add this new binary JSON. Okay, let me stop this application and let me restart this. So if you go here, it is again giving the problem for the connection. So what is happening here is this flap doodle Mongo embedded uses random port every time. So if you go here, and you can see here the port number changed. It was previously it was 58733, and now it is 58916. So it will change this port runtime every time we start the application. So it is trouble for us, because how we can know beforehand the port number, right? So there are a couple of ways to solve that. You can use a Mongo config file and do this, but that's a very little bit complex procedure, and I don't want to go there. But I have one simpler approach for that. You can go to your application.property file, and here you can specify spring spring data mongo port MongoDB port, and here you can pass 27017. So it will use this port number all the time. So I'm copying this and pasting this here, and let me restart this application. So we don't have any trouble, and if you can see here, this port number changed to 27017. So it will use this port all the time now. Let me go to our compass, and if I try to refresh this, it will give an error, because that port number that we specify at the time of connection is not going to work. So let me do disconnect, and here I need to pass 27017, and if I do connect, you can see here we have this test database. Inside that database we have collection name employee, and inside that employee we have one value which is Batman Batcave. So that's how we can connect embedded MongoDB with our application, and we can initialize it. So now we are ready to perform our CRUD operations, and let me go to my application and close these files first. So to write CRUD operations, we're gonna need few classes and packages, such as we're gonna need controller package, service package, and repository and entity package. It is same like the folder structure that we followed in our SQL database tutorial. So let me quickly create those and come back again. Okay, so I created this four class controller, service, repository, and employee object, and we need to write some code inside. So let me make this controller class as a REST controller. Request mapping. Here I can pass something like employee. Same way, let me go to service, and we need to put a notation at the red service. Same as in our repository, we need to pass repository annotation. Okay, so let me go to this employee entity class, and here we need to write a few fields that we're gonna use for our employee, and those fields will be something like. Okay, so with these three fields we're gonna use for now, and in our we can use ID also. So I'm using ID as a string for now, because I will explain this why I use ID as a string right now. So these four fields that we're gonna use, we're gonna need ID, first name, last name, and address. So let me create constructors and getters and setters. So source constructor from superclass to create constructor without fields, and then source constructor with fields, and then source getters and setters. Select all, generate. So our this class is ready. Let me close this. So now I'm in controller, and we need to create four different APIs to get the details to create the employee. Then we need to update the employee and delete the employee, right? So first let's create get, and for that we have get mapping, and the path will be simple slash and then public. This will return the list of employees. Get all. The thing is, I'm not passing anything here in this function because I don't want to make it complicated for right now. Let me import this everything. So this is the GET API that we're gonna use, and here we need to auto wire the service first, right? So every time some request comes, it will come to controller, then controller will pass that request to service, service will pass that request to repository, and repository will get the information from the database and then pass back to the controller, right? So let me copy this API, copy this function 4 times, and instead of get we're gonna need post, instead of get here we're gonna need put, and here we're gonna need delete. Import, and we need to change the name of this. Instead of get all, let me put add, and here also add. Put, need to put update, and delete gonna be delete, like this. And inside service we don't have this function, so that's why it is giving error. I'm putting cursor over there, then create method get all. Okay, same way add, same way update, same way delete. So this is our controller. First let's finish this get API from start to end. Okay, so we finished these 4 APIs, and we're gonna need to change little bit here, but not for right now. So in service we need to auto wire repository. So at the rate auto wire, and here we need to write employee repository. and instead of null we need to call a repositories function. So inside employee repository we don't have this function, and we need to go to our employee create function. So this function will get the data from database and return back to the service. Okay, so we need to write this, and the first thing we're gonna need here is the Mongo client. So what I'm gonna do is I'm making this global object, and I'm giving name client so I can reuse this, and I'm writing this function which will check this function is this function will create the object first time and it will reuse again. So let me write something like client equal to null. If this client is null, then create one. So client equal to new Mongo client host. Inside host I can pass localhost. So in actual application people normally take this URL from properties file with using @value annotation. So that way we can separate those URL and port number and other credential thing from our application code. And here our port number is 27017. Let me save this, and here we need to return this like this. Okay, and now here in our function, same like I mentioned previously, we're gonna need a connection first. So this client is our connection, and I'm calling that function get client. And from this client we need to take database. So Mongo database Mongo client dot get database. Get database name is our test, and we need to take we need to get Mongo collection, which is a type of document, and this collection will come from let me import this first, and this collection will come from database. Need to pass name here, which was employee. So now we need to tell this collection to give us all the details of employee table, employee collection, right? So first let me create a object of a list of employees that this will be our response. Right, and let me return this response. Now we need to fill all the details inside this response list. So as I mentioned previously that the coming response from the database won't be in the form of our application object, right? So we need to convert. So we have one function on the collection. If I do collection and dot, we have this find function, right? So we already have collection object which is of employee collection. So this find function will return everything from that collection, right? So if you see here, this function is returning iterable object, find iterable, right? And we need to get iterable out of this object, and we need to go through it all the elements of the iterator, and we need to convert that particular elements into our Java objects, right? So let me do this find, and for that we're gonna need a for loop. So I'm gonna write a for each loop, and here let me put something like this. This is gonna be a bison document. I'm giving emp name, or just give e, and here I'm gonna write collection.find. So I'm gonna put here collection.find, and now we need to go through this each and every element. We need to convert that details into our response object. So first let me create employee object here, and if you remember we had this constructor of that employee, and I'm gonna use this e. So if you do here e.get, inside that document object we have these options. So if you know beforehand the type of the object, you can go with it, otherwise you can go with the object. So first time what we need to do is this id is coming as a id object, it is not a string, so we need to convert that. So first let me get that as an object, and here I need to type something like this underscore id, which is a default id from Mongo. I will explain this later. And now first name, so we know that first name is our string, so I can do get string direct, and here I can type first name, same way last name. So let me just copy this. Instead of first name we have last name, and here we have address. So here if you see, this get function is returning the object, right? So we need to convert this to strings. I'm writing to string. Okay, now we need to put this emp object into our response. So this API is something like this. So let me repeat that. What I did is, so this find function on collection is returning the object of iterable, and we are going through each and every element of the iterable and converting those elements into our employee class. Okay, and then I put that employee class into our list. So I'm returning this response as the response of this function. Okay, moving forward, let me restart this application, and if I go to my Postman, so in here I need to type http, then we have localhost and employee. If I hit this, I can see here this data which is coming from Batman, and address is Batman, which is coming from this Mongo client, like this. And if you see here this object ID, which is 5DFD694, some random numbers, and it is coming as here as ID, right? So the secret behind this ID is it looks like it is a random number, but it is not a random number. It's a combination of time, your machine ID, your instance number, and those kind of stuff. So you can leverage this if you want. You can read about this in detail if you want, but for now it is not necessary for in our discussion. So this is how you can create a GET API.